Thank you, Leach.
First with breaking news and weather. Your First Alert starts now with First Alert 6 at 6.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Brian Mastery.
And I'm Erin Sullivan. Let's get right into our top 6 headlines at 6.
Tonight, the Omaha Public School Board will get a better read on where the district stands when it comes to chronic absenteeism. Well, the latest numbers show a decline, but it's a small drop in the nearly 40% of OPS students who miss 10% or more of their time in the classroom. We'll take a deeper dive into those numbers in just a few minutes.
2 vacant seats on the Nebraska Liquor Commission are filled. Governor Jim Pillen selected Robert Sinhorst and James Elworth to fill those seats. They're replacing 2 members who resigned after former executive director Hobart Roop was indicted for allegedly taking bribes from strip clubs. The 2 who resigned were not named in that indictment, but Governor Pillen asked them to step down amid the controversy.
Federal Aviation Administration today ending the flight restrictions it put in place during the shutdown. This comes just ahead of the Thanksgiving travel rush. The move to cut flights was to combat an air traffic controller shortage as workers went without immediate pay.
Tomorrow, the Douglas County Commissioners will consider an agreement giving them access to a new rescue boat for use on the Missouri River. It would replace the Douglas County Sheriff's Office's old boat, which was scrapped earlier this year.
And breaking tonight, the UN Security Council voted 14-0 to approve a U.S. plan for international stabilization force to provide security in Gaza. Jacqueline Fernandez has been following this. She'll have the latest from the Alert Center.
Well, today the Durham Museum's Christmas tree was cut down in a yard in La Vista, then taken downtown. The homeowners got quite the surprise when they learned that their tree was selected because they actually weren't the ones who entered it into the competition. We'll explain what happened later on in the show.
Got a little surprised when they show up with a chainsaw. Well, we're on First Alert for a few spotty showers around the metro tonight.
Chief Meteorologist Emily Roller joins us now with a first check of your First Alert 6 forecast. Emily.
Yeah, we're tracking some rain potential and some overall cool conditions as a result. That'll carry on into an overcast Tuesday with a high of 48. Some slightly warmer days in store by the middle of the week. In the meantime, we're stuck under the clouds. Here's the view on our satellite and radar picture. North of the metro, this is where those showers have been slowly wrapping up, but we have some moisture building in from the west. So far, still dry around the metro, but chances will increase here as we get a little bit deeper into the evening. By the time we hit about 8 o'clock, I would say we have our best chance into the metro, and by 10, showers pushing out to the east. We'll take a closer look at what's in store as the cloud cover sticks around into our Tuesday. That's coming up. Erin?
We certainly could use the rain. Emily, thanks. The OPS board will get some good news at their meeting tonight. District data shows chronic absenteeism dropped in the 2024-25 school year. The district considers a student chronically absent if they miss 10% or more of their time in school. About 700 fewer kids were in that category last school year compared to the year before. But absenteeism remains a big problem for the district. The data shows a majority of OPS students were either chronically absent or at risk of becoming so. In fact, more kids, in nearly 20,000, were marked chronically absent than those considered not. Those numbers have remained fairly stable over the last 3 school years, with the percentage of chronic absentees hovering around 40%.
More on that data. It reveals groups like refugees and English language learners are not pulling down that average. In fact, they're boosting it. Both refugees and English language learners are about 10% less likely to become chronically absent than their peers. Here's the good news. About 70% of schools were able to boost the number of kids not considered chronically absent. OPS hopes more consistent communication between school officials and families and better support and interventions will keep reducing absenteeism in the coming years.
When it comes to our safety, local agencies are always looking for better ways to protect us. And tonight, we're looking at a new partnership that would significantly enhance water safety and emergency responses on our rivers and lakes.
First Alert 6's Brenna Kiefner's live in the newsroom. Brenna, what does this mean for those of us who like to use the water?
Brian and Aaron, it means that help will arrive faster when seconds count. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office is getting a powerful new river rescue boat. But here's what makes this story unique. It's a partnership that's already paying dividends across the metro. The Papio NRD is investing $50,000 in the county's new boat with a 15-year partnership targeting public safety on area lakes and rivers. The 27-foot life-proof vessel costs $386,000 total. Seized drug money funds most of that purchase, and engineers designed it specifically for the Missouri River's dangerous currents. Now, this reflects the NRD's expanding mission. The district creates more lakes and reservoirs each year. They say more public access sites mean more people on the water. The NRD already partners with 3 other agencies, those being Sarpy County, Omaha Fire, and Waterloo Fire. They're all benefiting from similar agreements.
And as the district creates more of these lakes, these reservoirs, and then also these public access sites for our rivers, we're creating that environment where we want people to obviously recreate and enjoy those facilities, but we also want them to do it safely.
The partnership works both ways. Deputies can call the NRD for help during floods or emergencies at recreation sites. The new boat will be stationed at NP Dodge Park, and officials expect it to be operational by August of 2026. Live in the newsroom, Brenna Kiefner, First Alert 6.
Brenna, thank you. Breaking tonight, the UN Security Council approves a U.S. plan for the future of Gaza.
Jacqueline Fernandez joins us live at the Alert Center now with the latest on this. Jacqueline?
Brian, Aaron, the plan is to help Gaza with security in the devastated territory and plan a possible future path to an independent Palestinian state. The vote was a crucial next step for the fragile ceasefire and efforts to outline Gaza's future following the 2 years of war between Israel and Hamas. The U.S. resolution endorses President Trump's 20-point ceasefire plan, which calls for establishing a board of peace as a transitional authority that Trump would head. It also authorizes security forces to enter the country and oversee its borders and demilitarize the territory. Now, the proposal gives no timeline on or a guarantee, for an independent state, only saying it is possible. As it stands, the U.S. plan for Gaza expires at the end of 2027. Brian, Aaron.
Now, First Alert 6 weather with Emily Roller.
Well, we're on First Alert for cloud cover to carry over from today into our Tuesday. Overcast skies and cool conditions out the door, low 40s. It's a steady climb from there, but high temperatures are staying below the average. 48 for our afternoon high tomorrow in the metro, 46 for Tequema, a couple of low 50s down to the south. With the overcast conditions, it will be feeling cool. All that will be left of the showers we're tracking tonight by early tomorrow will be some very spotty activity around 6 to 7 a.m. That should clear up from there, but we don't see much sunshine, perhaps just a little bit of thinning by late afternoon to early evening, where you see maybe a bit of clear sky. We'll be taking a closer look at some warmer days for the middle of this week. That's coming up. Aaron?
Thanks, Emily. Well, the man charged in a shooting in the Old Market last month will go to trial. Kyrie Holbert faces assault and weapon charges. A complaint also alleges the gun used in the shooting is a match for one used in other crimes in Nebraska, and that Holbert tried getting rid of the gun before law enforcement found it. Holbert was sentenced to 2 decades in federal prison in 2018, but got out in January, serving 7 years before former President Biden commuted his sentence.
Now to a demonstration from first responders, how they keep us safe and how we can keep them safe. The State Patrol showed how they respond when someone is pinned in a vehicle. This crash was staged, but at a real crash scene, it's the same type of flurry of activity you'd see on a busy side of the highway. Officers, firefighters, deputies wearing reflective clothing, but it's up to us to give them the space they need to save lives.
Remember, you are part of this team as well. While responders work on a crash scene, they were relying on you to keep them safe as they work to save others.
Please remember, when you see the lights, vests, or people on the shoulder of the road, slow down and move over.
Now, moving over for responders, it's not just a courtesy, it is the law. Under Nebraska's expanded move over law, drivers are required to give all cars stopped on the side of the highway extra space. not just emergency vehicles.
Coming up, Ben Franklin said only two things are certain in life: death and taxes. Nebraska state auditor says while immortality is still out of reach, plenty of people and companies are evading their taxes, costing the state millions.
Plus, right here in Omaha, a unique center bringing centuries-old treasures back to life. From artifacts to paintings, the meticulous work preserving history for generations.
Let better than bouillon magic begin when you scoop a spoonful and stir it in. Breakfast casseroles and green beans with flair, prime rib or deviled eggs to share. Because everything is better with better than bouillon. Let better than bouillon magic begin when you scoop a spoonful and stir it in. Chicken noodle, creamy rice, and more. Beef stir fry or fettuccine to adore. Because everything is better with better than bouillon. Let better than bouillon magic begin when you scoop a spoonful and stir it in. Breakfast casseroles and green beans with flair, prime rib or deviled eggs to share. Because everything is better with better than bouillon. Let better than bouillon magic begin when you scoop a spoonful and stir it in. Chicken noodle, creamy rice, and more. Beef stir fry or fettuccine to adore. Because everything is better with better than bouillon.
Wild Pit Barbecue.
Well, we're on first alert for another system on the way by the end of the week. We're keeping an eye on this one, but it's unlikely to impact everyone in eastern Nebraska and western Iowa. By Thursday morning, our rain chances will be down to our south, and as a low pressure system lifts north, that'll bring in a rain chance starting to the south and moving north as we get into Thursday night and Friday. Now, the area of low pressure we're tracking is keeping just a little bit further south than it looked like it would over the weekend. So what that means for our rain potential is it's shifting south of I-80 around the metro and areas north, likely winding up on the drier side of this one, but it does come with a cool down. We'll take a closer look at that with our 10-day power planner. Aaron?
Thanks, Emily. Preserving our shared history is a vital endeavor, ensuring the stories and artistry of the past enlighten future generations.
For this We the People report, as we prepare to celebrate America's 250th birthday, John Chapman takes us to one site in Omaha, where a team of experts is maintaining our nation's shared heritage.
We work to repair historical artwork and private collection items.
Inside the Gerald R. Ford Conservation Center, they're working to preserve history.
I'm working on an archaeological ceramic that was excavated somewhere in Nebraska.
Vonda Shaw is the manager of the center. She says there's not many places in the country that do this type of work.
We're a regional center for art conservation. There are only about a dozen in the United States.
There are 3 individual laboratories in the conservation center. each specializing in preserving a different type of material.
We have a paper lab, so the paper lab would work on documents and paper and books, photographs, anything that's kind of like paper-based. Our middle lab kind of is specially for paintings conservation, so anything on paintings, so canvas and panels and murals and things like that. And then we have an objects lab that is kind of the generalists of the field, so they do kind of the leftover things like the ceramics, glass, leather, wood.
There's a crack in the handle of this centuries-old pistol, just an example of the type of things they fix here. Bonda says they have preserved some very notable items right here in Omaha.
The Louisiana Purchase Proclamation, we worked on like the Nicolas Boutet pistols. They're Napoleon Bonaparte's gunsmith pistols. We worked on those here. And we've worked on some Grant Wood paintings.
Omaha businessman James Paxson donated the land to the city of Omaha for the Gerald Ford birth site. He gave the other portion of the lot to the state of Nebraska. That's where the Ford Conservation Center stands. Bonda says Mr. Paxson wanted to dedicate something to the only Omaha native who became president of the United States.
Gerald Ford was born in a house on the corner. That is a city park. James Paxson purchased that land and donated that. But then subsequently he wanted something bigger.
Paxson did get something bigger. One site that remembers history, another that preserves it.
To maintain the historical context for things, keeping things in general preserved for long term, for those that value kind of history and how we can learn from history.
In Omaha, I'm John Chapman, First Alert 6.
More Nebraskans are evading their state taxes. Even worse, according to State Auditor Mike Foley, in many cases they are allowed to get away with it. Foley's office found state tax delinquencies spiked by $41 million this year, hitting a total of more than $310 million. Based on its collections history, the State Department of Revenue projects it will only ever collect about 20% of those lost tax dollars. Under state law, the DOR can take unpaid tax dollars directly from corporate and personal bank accounts. The department is working to select a contractor to help automate that process.
President Trump is changing his tune. He's now calling on House Republicans to release the Epstein files. First Alert 6 White House correspondent John Decker has what's behind this about face from the president and whether it really means the public will see what's in the files.
There is momentum right now among House Republicans to support that legislation, which will be voted on the House floor in overwhelming numbers, and that vote will take place tomorrow. The president now getting behind that legislation, which would compel the Department of Justice to release the files related to their criminal investigation of Epstein. Now, the president has indicated he would like Republicans to support that, so we could actually see a unanimous vote in the House of Representatives on this issue. As to whether or not the public will be able to view what's contained in those files, it depends on a few things. First of all, that legislation needs to pass the House, it needs to pass the Senate, and there's no indication the Senate will take up this legislation, and then it would need to get signed by President Trump. In addition to that, Dave, Attorney General Pam Bondi needs to say that she will release it. She could indeed say she won't release these files because of the Department of Justice's ongoing criminal investigation.
Now, your First Alert 6 weather 10-day power planner.
We have a cool and cloudy Tuesday on the way. Temperatures staying in the upper 40s. Rain chances will only be with us pretty early in the morning, very sparse at that. So if you are trying to get outside, maybe hang some holiday lights, it's not a bad day for it. It's just going to be one of the cooler choices this week. Wednesday and Thursday looking a little better for those outdoor plans. We're at 56 degrees for Wednesday, more sunshine ahead of increasing clouds Thursday, and highs coming close to 60 degrees. Now take advantage of that. By Friday, we're starting to cool down. We're back to the mid-40s, tracking some showers that stay mainly south of I-80. So it's not going to be a big rainmaker. At least it doesn't look like it will for the metro. And from there, we'll see a nice rebound in temperatures. By the time we hit Saturday, you can plan on highs in the mid-50s, and you'll want to enjoy the warmth while it's here. As we look ahead to the end of November, we're tracking a round of cooler than average air. So that means for the Thanksgiving holiday, more than likely below average highs. You can plan on high temperatures warming back to the upper 50s in time for Sunday, mild first half of next week. By next Wednesday, we're back to the mid 40s, and we're anticipating low 40s for Thanksgiving with an overnight low of 29 by Thursday morning. You can stay on top of the forecast by downloading our First Alert 6 weather app. You can find that free in the App Store. I'll be keeping a close eye on that Thanksgiving holiday. I know a lot of people traveling. So far, it doesn't look like we see any big issues.
And we get another good weekend out of this, too.
We do.
Before that.
Looking forward to that.
Thanks, Emily. Well, Matt Rule says his Huskers made good use of their week off. The players got a much-needed week of recovery before they head to Happy Valley in a few days. And the coaches hit the recruiting trail. Coach Rule says recruits are impressed with the atmosphere at Nebraska's night games, including that blackout game against USC. They have another chance to show out under the lights on Saturday against a Penn State team that Rule says is much better than their record. Head coach says coming out of Beaver Stadium with a win will require a big step up in a facet of the game the Huskers have struggled with all season.
Versus the run, and they are going to come out and run the football. So I look at it as what a wonderful opportunity for our guys to go out there and conquer things that have bothered them. And so we can defend the run. They're just very good at it too. So a lot of credit to them.
Huskers take on the Nittany Lions Saturday. Kickoff is 6 p.m. You can watch it right here on First Alert 6. They'll have a short week after that as they prepare to host Iowa on Black Friday. Coming up, 2 new homeowners unknowingly found themselves a part of a 50-year-old holiday tradition.
The 40-foot Christmas tree making its grand entrance, ready to dazzle at the Durham Museum. That's after the break.
Mom Talk started as a sisterhood, and that's gone to flames. Demi is out for blood towards me right now.
Jesse tried to throw me under the bus for something I did not do. Whitney is very fame hungry. Normally I feel bad when people cry, but I don't feel bad at all.
They make literally everything about themselves. I can't.
She's hurting the whole group against me. I have never tried to ruin someone's life because of my mistakes.
Hopefully this doesn't end in a bloodbath.
We have the meats.
It's an Omaha tradition, decades strong. This 40-foot tree made its way through downtown and soon will be on display at the Durham Museum.
And there she goes. Our Maria Cade spoke with the homeowners of that tree ahead of its journey through the city.
It's the unofficial kickoff to the holiday season here in Omaha.
Christmas at Union Station is a tradition that's been going on for 50 years.
The Christmas tree at the Durham Museum, an institution.
Its 50th anniversary is in 5 days from now, and miraculously, we had a volunteer at the time that in the first 2 weeks the museum was open, made this tradition a priority.
CJ and Stephen Carr are the lucky homeowners this year. The tree in front of their La Vista home was chosen for the display and made its way through the metro on Monday.
Well, they choose from a lot of trees, so if you're lucky enough to get yours chosen, I would do it.
But the Christmas catch? The couple only moved into the home less than a month ago.
The previous owners, they entered it in the drawing. We were contacted the day that we moved in.
Steven says it's a blue spruce, and it's a lengthy process to be chosen.
Some of them are not quite tall enough, not quite full enough. Some of them are beautiful trees, but there's just not a safe approach, a good way to get them out of that location without doing damage to the home or the property.
As the tree prepares to be donned in ornaments and lights, it's a testament that sometimes the best traditions find you when you least expect them.
I've lived here my whole life, so this is an honor, and a blessing.
The Carrs may be new to their home, but they're now part of something that's brought this city together for half a century. In Omaha, Maria Cade, First Alert 6.
The Christmas season officially begins at the Durham on Friday, November 29th, and the tree lighting will happen that night around 7 p.m.
Now, plan your weekend with an accurate First Alert 6 weather forecast.
Well, first alert to a cool Friday, high of 47. We'll be tracking a system that brings showers mainly south of I-80. Everyone feels the cool down, though. We rebound in time for Saturday and Sunday. Looks like a great weekend to get out and get some of that holiday decorating done. We'll be in the mid-50s Saturday, 59 on Sunday. And then we'll be tracking our next round of chilly air around Thanksgiving. A first alert to that coming up in our next half hour.
I love that it's almost Friday graphic on a Monday. But watch for these stories in our next half hour on First Alert 6. After a shakeup at the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission, new people are stepping in. We'll look into their backgrounds.
Plus this.
How tragic to watch a person's last 20 steps of their life.
A pair of deadly hit and runs in Omaha just days apart. The penalties the drivers could face might surprise you.
Ernie's Mattress First Lincoln.
In the last few days, 2 people have died on Omaha streets. Police say both were victims of hit and runs. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brian Mastry.
And I'm Jacqueline Fernandez. As First Alert 6 John Chapman tells us, when the drivers are arrested, there's a possibility they won't face serious jail time.
Early Sunday morning around 1 o'clock, first responders answer a call near 26th Avenue and Douglas Streets. Witnesses tell police a 29-year-old man was walking in the middle of the street. 2 cars avoided hitting the man, but someone driving a truck did not. The driver of the truck hit the man and did not stop. The pedestrian died at the hospital. Police found the truck later, but they didn't find the driver. Last Friday, another fatal hit and run in Omaha. Police say 63-year-old Osborne Henderson Jr. was crossing 84th Street near Blondo when he was hit by the driver of a pickup truck. The driver kept going. Osborne died from his injuries. Tom McGuire works in the area. His security cameras captured the fatal incident.
The video showed the pedestrian walking east on the north side of Blondo, and when he came to the street corner, he stopped. A truck pulls up, was going to turn right, and the truck stopped also, so it looks harmless. And then as the pedestrian started to walk, the truck just took off and ran him over. The first thing I thought of was how tragic to watch a person's last 20 steps of their life.
Douglas County Attorney Don Klein would not talk about any specific incident, but he did talk in general about the penalties of a fatal hit-and-run offense.
That's Class 3 felony, carries up to 4 years.
Seems kind of light.
It does seem kind of light.
That's Nebraska law. 4 years max for leaving the scene of a fatal car crash. But Klein says if there is additional evidence, there could be another charge added to the leaving the scene offense.
Manslaughter possibly, or motor vehicle homicide. Motor vehicle homicide could be that they were intoxicated, under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or a misdemeanor motor vehicle homicide means that it was their fault. They violated a red light.
The manslaughter charge or reckless driving charge could mean up to 20 years in prison. Klein shows us other cases where hit-and-run drivers were sentenced to double-digit prison time. Klein says no matter what the charge, if you hit a person and leave the scene without stopping, you will be caught.
Well, I mean, the police do an amazing job of tracking people down. So if you think that you're going to get away with this, I would say you're not.
In Omaha, I'm John Chapman, First Alert 6.
Klein tells us his office has discussed adding more prison time to the penalty of leaving the scene of a fatal crash.
In Council Bluffs, the man accused of killing a teenager in a hit and run last month turned himself in. Council Bluffs police say Jason Evans came in on Friday. That's the same day a warrant was issued for his arrest. A toxicology test showed Evans was driving drunk at nearly 4 times the legal limit when he hit 17-year-old Hayden Baker on his motorcycle. Tests also showed Evans had marijuana in his system. The crash, again, was in October. Hayden Baker did not survive. Some showers possible tonight. We're on First Alert for another weather maker later this week.
Chief Meteorologist Emily Roller has your First Alert 6 forecast.
Yeah, we'll keep it a close eye on Friday for that next rain chance, although it's not going to be here for everybody. Let's take a look at this next system and the setup. By Thursday, the rain is down to our south, and that's likely where it stays until at least the very late night hours Thursday. That'll start to lift north as a low pressure system makes an approach, and we've been watching the path of this low really for the last week now. It's been bouncing north and south, and it seems to have settled to the south. So what that means for us is better rain chances keeping south of I-80, likely not much moisture for the metro unless something changes before we see a nice warm weekend. We'll take a closer look at that coming up with your 10-day power planner.
All right, we'll see you then, Emily. 2 posts left vacant after a public scandal are now filled.
Governor Jim Pillen has selected Robert Sinhorst and James Elworth to fill the open spots on the Nebraska Liquor Commission. They are replacing two members who resigned after former executive director Hobart Roop was indicted for allegedly taking bribes from strip clubs. They also left their roles on Nebraska's Medical Cannabis Commission.
The two who resigned were not named in the indictment against Hobart Roop, but were asked to step down by the governor after the alleged misconduct came out. Now, as for these new appointments, Sinhorst is from Lincoln, served on the State Board of Health, is formerly the executive director of the Nebraska State Republican Party. Elworth is from Nebraska City, is retired, and formerly worked as a county prosecutor.
We now know a woman killed in Lincoln over the weekend was from Omaha and ran a nonprofit. Police say Christine Hess was hit by a tow truck in an intersection near Nebraska Westland Saturday morning. Hess was 61. She worked as the director of operations at Civic Nebraska. The group says Hess was walking to a Civic Nebraska event when she was hit. As of now, police have not issued any charges in the deadly crash. Officers say the driver involved is cooperating.
I want to turn your attention now to images of a man wanted for murder in Benson. Viangelo Moore is wanted in the death of Joshua Perrin. Last Tuesday, Perrin was shot and killed near 56th and Hamilton. At the time, officers were looking into if the case involved robbery. Now Moore is wanted for murder, gun charges. If you know anything about his whereabouts or details on this shooting that could help Omaha homicide detectives, give them a call. But we're expecting a vote tomorrow on the long-debated Epstein files. This comes after a complete reversal on the issue from the president.
Last night, President Trump posted on social media urging the House to vote to release the files, saying they have nothing to hide. This is all coming to a head after a newly sworn-in Arizona congresswoman added her name to a petition forcing a vote on the topic. Even if it passes, the measure still would need to pass in the GOP-controlled Senate and would need Trump's signature. Today, Trump said he would sign it and says the push is an effort by Democrats to distract from how they handled the shutdown.
We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time.
Trump and Epstein were friends for years before the pair had a falling out. In emails released last week, Epstein wrote that Trump spent hours with an alleged victim of Epstein's. The White House says the messages were released, to create a fake narrative about the president.
Now, First Alert 6 weather with Emily Roller.
We're on First Alert for a few showers out there tonight. Our first round has wrapped up. It's off to the north, and now we're tracking a second round building in from the southwest. We have some showers out near York, south of Beatrice, even a few lightning strikes. This next wave of rain will likely be pushing into the metro, although pretty spotty, within the next hour and a half to 2 hours. So as we get into the 8 o'clock hour, that's going to be our best window to see a little bit of moisture, although it is going to be quite hit or miss. Chances wrap up by about 10 to 11 p.m. through western Iowa, and we're left with maybe a lingering spot of patchy drizzle by tomorrow morning. We'll take a closer look at what's in store for the rest of the week coming up.
Sounds good. More news. The EPA announced a major rollback of Biden-era water regulations today. It more clearly outlines the difference between federal and state waterways.
But as First Alert 6, Molly Martinez explains, what's a boon for landowners could come with major consequences.
We're adding a new exclusion for groundwater and revising exclusions for certain ditches, prior converted cropland, and waste treatment systems.
EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin is releasing a new proposal that will retool the Waters of the United States rule, or WOTUS. The rule was put in place under Nixon to protect wetlands, streams, and, quote, navigable waters. The new rule gives more power to landowners and less power to regulators and enforcement.
Now you get to put in place a more permanent regulation. That predictability, that certainty is good for landowners. It's good for people that are looking for permits, who just really want to know the difference between where federal waters are and where state waters are.
What's at risk here is the drinking water for millions of people, wetlands that protect millions of people from flooding. The beneficiaries of this are really going to be oil and gas industry, big developers that really want to be able to develop every last inch of properties and not bother to protect wetlands and small streams.
Monday kicks off the 45-day public comment period. After that month and a half is over, the EPA will publish
publish its official proposal. If you have a public comment or want to weigh in, you can do so at regulations.gov. At the EPA, I'm Molly Martinez.
Still to come on this Monday, an inside look at Nebraska's oldest library. Can you believe it's actually older than the state itself?
It's pretty ancient. Plus this.
I knock out those factories, I would be proud to do it personally.
President Trump questioned on possible strikes on Mexico, the steps he says he's willing to take.
And as we head to the break, taking a live view over Epley in downtown Omaha with our Union Bank and Trust CityCam network through showers that Emily's keeping an eye on as the change of seasons continues to feel more like fall. First Alert 6 continues after this break.
My best cat called this guy. I was wearing overalls, and he goes, "Oshkosh, but oh my gosh."
Put your mouth like this, and you smoke it, and the blue smoke comes out of it. You see?
Wild.
Oh, we're looking ahead to the holidays, and we're only 10 days away from Thanksgiving. It's on the 10-day forecast. 34 days until the winter solstice, and Christmas not far after that. So looking ahead to Thanksgiving, getting you that early preview, we're forecasting a high of 40 degrees. That's going to be slightly below the average. We have some signs of chillier air moving in around the holiday. Could persist a little bit beyond that as well. We're going to be keeping a close eye on some moisture potential ahead of that. Also, at this point, doesn't look like it's going to cause any major travel issues locally, but we're going to keep an eye on that for any of those holiday travel plans. We'll take a closer look at what's in store over the next 10 days coming up. Brian.
Emily, thank you. An eastern Iowa man who said he murdered 4 people in hopes it would turn into a crime movie will spend the rest of his life in prison.
A jury found Luke Truesdell guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of second-degree murder. Truesdell was arrested last year after 4 people were found beaten to death in a barn in Lynn County.
A man shot and killed by a state trooper in Iowa overnight. Grundy County deputies say they were trying to stop a driver who was wanted. This was near Waterloo. When he didn't stop, a chase ensued. It didn't end until the man's car broke down. He allegedly got out and shot at police. Deputies and an Iowa state trooper fired back, killing the man. No officers were hurt. Following departmental policy, everyone involved is on leave.
President Trump says he is not ruling out strikes on Mexico in his administration's crackdown on drugs. Trump told reporters today he is open to strikes and deploying American troops to fight cartels.
Launch strikes in Mexico to stop drugs? It's okay with me. Whatever we have to do to stop drugs. Mexico is, look, I looked at Mexico City over the weekend. There's some big problems over there.
Earlier this month, NBC News reported the Trump administration was planning a mission to target cartels. Mexico's president has repeatedly said U.S. strikes in her country won't happen.
Nebraska recently turned 158 years old, but the Nebraska State Library actually much older.
Yeah, for 170 years, the state's only public law library has provided Nebraskans with legal guidance. Grace McDonald gets lost in the bookcases at the Nebraska State Capitol building.
At the Nebraska State Capitol, everyone wants to be in the room where it happens. But this is where the research begins. The Nebraska State Library dates back to when Nebraska was considered a territory. In 1855, the United States Congress appropriated $5,000 to establish the state's library. Back then, it originated in Omaha.
They loaded up wagons with furniture, state documents, probably the state seal, and also library materials, and they crossed the Platte River, 3 in the morning, snowstorm.
Stolen from under Omaha's nose and brought to the state capitol building in Lincoln.
They do not make libraries like this anymore.
During construction, an artist donated the Capitol's first painting to the library. An architect, Bertram Goodhue, designed a preliminary state seal.
Unfortunately, we still had 2 houses of government then, so this is the only place where this exact version of the state seal exists.
Scattered throughout are Nebraska symbols, including unique features like doors covered with pig and potentially elephant skin. Other doorways are hidden.
Behind the door is another door. There we go.
It leads to a balcony on the south side to help with airflow back when there was no climate control.
I mean, it's like Harry Potter or like something like that. Even when you know that the library exists, you don't always realize how many books there are here. It's incredible.
Here, it feels like you're stepping back in time. Especially with these old light fixtures to shed light on historic and current Nebraska state statutes and legal journals from across the U.S. In fact, the Nebraska State Library is still very relevant today as a repository for the Federal Register.
You know, sometimes you'll see other attorneys in here doing research because, you know, they're the ones building up the case.
The only public law library in Nebraska has online databases and 150,000 print resources that spill into 2 wings.
This is a great place to come. There's a lot of resources here for people who are representing themselves.
Anyone can access documents that shaped the 37th U.S. state, as long as they stay in room 325 on the 3rd floor of the state capitol. For Pure Nebraska, I'm Grace McDonald.
Now, your First Alert 6 weather 10-day power planner.
We'll be dealing with lingering cloud cover through the day tomorrow. Very overcast, very cool for Tuesday. A high of 48 before we rebound Wednesday and Thursday. So if you're hoping to get outside, maybe get some of that holiday decorating done. It's not going to be a bad day to be outside tomorrow, but Wednesday and Thursday, much better choices when we climb into the mid-50s Wednesday and near 60 on Thursday. You have a better chance to see some sunshine those days as well. By Friday, we'll be tracking our next system. That brings our highs back down to the 40s and also brings in our next rain chance. Unfortunately, it's not very widespread. The showers stay mainly south of I-80. That's how it's shaping up at this point. So we are unlikely to really add any moisture as we look ahead to the metro. Right now, we're running pretty far behind for the year. Our 2025 precipitation departure from normal, that's sitting at about 6 3/4 3/4 of an inch behind where we should be at this point in the year. And for the fall season, about 2 3/4 of an inch behind. And we have very few rain chances as we move through the 10-day forecast, and that's taking us almost into the end of November. So by the weekend, at least with the dry weather, you have some nice days to get outside. Another great weekend to do some decorating outdoors. We'll be in the mid-50s Saturday, near 60 on Sunday. Take advantage of that. By the time we hit Thanksgiving, we'll be cooling down. High temperatures are back to the 40s by Wednesday. Thursday, a high of 40 degrees, and temperatures overnight dipping down to the 20s. You can stay on top of the forecast by downloading our First Alert 6 weather app. You can find that free in the App Store. It's getting chilly by Thanksgiving, but that's not too far off from where we should be.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some warm Thanksgiving. Sometimes we're just blessed, I guess, when that happens. Thanks, Emily.
Not today. Not this year.
Well, Nebraska football back in action this week with a road game at one of the sport's toughest venues.
Yep, but for Matt Rule, it is familiar territory. Coming up in Sports on 6, his thoughts on returning to his alma mater. Sports is next.
Now at Woodhouse. Now, Sports on 6.
Nebraska football gets the primetime matchup at Penn State. That's a game you can see right here on First Alert 6. Many in Husker Nation had this game circled on their calendars before the season and, of course, before the Nittany Lions' 6-game losing streak. Now, records aside, the game holds special meaning for Matt Rule. Rule, of course, a Penn State alum. He met his wife Julie there and began his coaching career under Joe Paterno. There was also plenty of rumors tying him to the head coaching job at Penn State before he signed that extension with the Huskers last month. But Rule says he's been back to Happy Valley plenty of times over the years, so Saturday's game may not carry the same emotional depth one might assume.
I don't have very many at all, to be honest with you. I spoke earlier to you guys about how much I love my time there, but it's just different for me, Sam, because I've been back so many times. I have a lot of respect for Terry, I have a lot of respect for their team, but I want this week to be 100% about our players, You know, I want our guys to play their best football game, and so, yeah, that's really all I feel.
Catch the Huskers take on Penn State Saturday at 6 p.m. That one on NBC First Alert 6. Well, Creighton men's basketball fell out of the AP Top 25 after last week's loss to ninth-ranked Gonzaga. The Jays receiving 12 votes in Monday's poll. They're back at it Wednesday against North Dakota. Bellevue and Midland heard their name called in the NAIA volleyball selection show this evening. Both teams will host the opening round of the NAIA volleyball tournament Saturday at 1 p.m. Bellevue had that terrific run to the championship last year. Excited to see them get back at it.
Kind of reinforces the volleyball state, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
All right, Clayton, thanks.
Thank you.
Now to this day in history. It was 2006 when gamers and entrepreneurs lining up hoping to get their hands on the new Sony PlayStation 3. Some camped out for days, like that guy. This was the scene at the Best Buy at 72nd and Dodge. Machines cost about $600. Some folks turned around and sold them for thousands on eBay.
Wow, are you sure you weren't in the pink tent, Brian?
Nope. Did not have that one, no.
Okay, fair.
One more check of Emily's forecast in a moment.
First, though, we have a look at what's on NBC tonight. At 7 o'clock, St. Denis Medical, 7:30, The Paper. That's followed by The Voice at 8 and Brilliant Minds at 9.
First Alert 6 is back at 10 o'clock. On The Tonight Show, Jimmy's guests include Hank Azaria. On Late Night, Seth welcomes Jeff Goldblum.
Captioning on First Alert 6 is sponsored by Rebath.
Yeah, what he said.
Hey, don't forget our Stuff the Truck Food and Toy Drive is less than 3 weeks away. It's December 4th. Come out and see us at 2 Methodist locations, 89th West Dodge, 192nd in West Dodge.
Yep, we'll be out there from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can also drop off goods at Methodist Jenny Edmondson Medical Plaza, that's in Council Bluffs, and Methodist Fremont Health. We're looking for non-perishable food and new unwrapped toys.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing everyone on December 4th. little too far out for you to tell us what that's going to be like.
Yeah, we don't have December 4th on the 10-day forecast, but we do have a first look at Thanksgiving. Meanwhile, this week looking pretty nice. Around the middle of the week, we have a couple of warmer days to enjoy once we get past tomorrow in the 40s, and a couple lingering showers possible by pretty early tomorrow. We'll be back to the mid to upper 50s Wednesday and Thursday. Another temperature dip on Friday with best rain chances staying south of the metro. Gorgeous weekend. Get out and enjoy it. Mid to upper 50s are back, and then there's that cooler air here by the holiday. We'll be down to the low 40s just in time for Thanksgiving.
Kind
so
of a
little bit
sad-looking
chilly.
graphic. That turkey doing that thing. Whatever he was doing. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight, everyone.